We're back. We're here. We're doing it. It's 10 Very Big Books, a Malazan read-through podcast. My name is Peter Bond. With me today, I have my friend and closest confidant, India Jones.
Hello there.
And of course, the third leg of this particular stool, my foe and arch rival, Joshua Baker.
Well, top of the morning to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
There we go. Happy St. Patrick's Day, indeed. And what is at the bottom of this particular pot of gold? A fantastical adventure.
Three friends learning lessons along the way.
Peter, that could have been so much. You could have said so many things about what was at the bottom of this pot of gold.
To be honest,
friendship.
I didn't know what to say because I really didn't want to do an accent, so I was just trying to get me as far away from that possibility.
I think that was a good choice.
I think Josh has you covered.
Phew, close one.
No, I liked it. I liked it.
That was really strong. That was a strong intro.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's get down to brass tacks and away from today's holiday. Over the last 2 weeks, we read chapters 3 and 4 of Gardens of the Moon. So let's get into it and start with chapter 3. Chapter 3. 2 years have passed since Ganois Paran, the nobleman turned soldier, was plucked off his post on Itko Khan by the adjunct to the Empress. He is on way by boat to Ganambacus to meet up with the bridge burners, who he is to become captain of. Topper, the Imperial Clawmaster, says that the young girl from Itko Khan he is searching for is embedded in the bridge burners under Whiskey Jack, and that the Empress is leery of those soldiers who still may hold allegiances to the late Emperor Kellenved. His boat docks and he flies to Pale to meet with the bridge burners. In the city, the mage Tattersail speaks with Bellarden. A mage himself, Bellarden mourns the defeat of the battle and the death of Nightchill. Tattersail is suspicious of the summoning of the demon and doubts that it came from Moonspawn. Suspicion turns on Taisharin, High Mage to the Empress. Bellarden dismisses these suspicions and leaves to bury his lover, but not before Tattersail casts a spell on Nightchill's remains. Kalam and Quickbend speak as they await the arrival of their new captain. Kalam used to be an Imperial Claw and Quickbend is a secretive mage. Both are veterans of the bridge burners who hail from 7 cities. Kalam has heard word from the Empire that someone would see the bridge burners snuffed out. Tattersail meets with Taisharin and reads the deck of dragons. Orb, Virgin of High House Death, Assassin of High House Shadow, Upon, Crown. Taisharin departs and Tattersail wishes to meet with the bridge burners. Perrin arrives in Pale and speaks with Tak the Younger, a claw stationed in the army. Perrin learns that Whiskey Jack was a close ally of the Old Guard and once commanded armies himself. After he encounters the city, he encounters a few bridge burners from which he learns there have been 4 captains in the 3 years. Perrin is a little worried and after looking for Whiskey Jack, he is struck dead by Sari. He listens to the woman speak with a hooded figure. Shadow Throne. So, India, what did you think about Ganois Paran's short-lived post as captain of the bridge burner?
Well, the interesting thing about that is I didn't even really realize that. So,
Okay.
Meaning, I had no idea. I don't even know. I don't know. Let me think.
All right, Josh, what do you know?
I mean, a man about what?
What do we really know about his short-lived post?
Are you asking about it? What are you asking? What I think about him being captain?
I suppose so. India said she didn't know, so I figured, what did Josh know?
Oh, sorry. I mean, it's pretty much like from the get-go that he's gonna get there and he's gonna die in some mysterious way. I think it was a pretty bold plan of Adjunct Lorne to just send in an agent to snoop on a god who's inside of a human and not expect the gods to catch on. Like, that seemed like a pretty bad move.
Yeah, it was definitely a reckless play, especially I don't think it helps that he's like a big fancy nobleman, and he comes in here with this cool sword and is like, I'm gonna be.
But it also feels kind of bad because he didn't do anything wrong. He just was walking in broad daylight, and like that's some ballsiness from Sari.
My question here is, I assumed that this Sari being like a hidden agent in this. First of all, my most pressing question actually is, what is a claw a sector? inside of the bridge burners? Are they separate?
So the Claw are not a part of the Bridge Burners or Dujak's army on Kennebakas. The Claw are a kind of elite assassin force that work directly for the Empress. So they kind of are hidden throughout the Empire and would report back. So think like Gestapo or something.
So the Claw, a person who is a Claw, could be undercover as a bridge burner. And is that what Sari is doing?
It doesn't seem that way. In fact, in this chapter, we meet a Claw who is embedded with
Talk the Younger.
Talk the Younger. I think he's embedded with the Second Army. I would have to check, but he's embedded within the army. He's
undercover.
An Imperial Claw. Yeah, he's undercover.
Okay.
He's working for the army, but he truly is dedicated to the Empress and Topper, the head of the Imperial Claws.
And the Empress is Lacine.
Throne Master.
And
that's what the word means.
Okay.
Lacine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Josh, we spent some more time with Kalam and Quickben as kind of more scenes directly with the bridge burners. Also in the next chapter too. What did it feel like to kind of be in the room with them? Because we kind of just see them in passing in the last scene with the Siege of Pale.
I think they're both very interesting characters. And obviously they have pasts that I'm certain we'll learn more about because they're pretty buck wild. Like the one's an ex-Claw, and I can't remember if it's this chapter or the next where someone explicitly states like, I'm pretty sure you can't stop being a Claw.
Tattersail says that in the next chapter.
And then so that's something. And then Quick Ben is just like, we are getting hints that his power is like, borderline to the level of a high mage, potentially the level of a high mage, and we're also learning that like that doesn't you don't get to be that and people not know who you are. So I'm very curious. It also going a little bit off from that. My question is, what makes Whiskey Jack special? Because we haven't really seen him do a ton yet, and like these two who are under his command seem to be like completely like badasses, and Whiskey Jack just seems like a dude currently.
You don't think Whiskey Jack's a badass?
I haven't seen him do much yet, except have a tunnel fall on him and his men.
Yeah, well, Quick Ben certainly has a lot of untapped power, or you know what I mean. Yeah, he's a lot of power crackling underneath. India, did you have a feeling about the bridge burners we kind of met this chapter?
Mostly I hated their names because it was hard for me to remember who they were and what they did. And so every time they said something, I would have...
Naturally.
Yeah. So I thought that... for some reason, I thought that Tattersail had died in the last chapter. But then I learned, no, clearly not.
No, many of the other wizards and mages had kind of been dead or attacked during the battle, but she had survived.
And, she was mourning the man that died. Correct.
Yeah, her,
yes. A puppet. I don't... So, because that comes back...
Hairlock died and got put into a puppet, and now he's around now.
Yeah. So, I guess I kind of also don't understand the dynamic between all of them, as in, like, what do they do? And I don't know. I've been really confused because they seem powerful and yet everyone wants to kill them, and I don't know the grand purpose of who's fighting against who and why and for what. I'm really struggling now to understand who's on whose side, mainly.
Well, I can understand that because especially in this chapter and a little bit in the next one, we start to see some of the larger political machinations that are kind of bleeding into this conflict, because we see many people have stakes necessarily in these people's lives outside of their own. Josh, so what was your read on the powers that be that are trying to oppose or support the different players here within the City of Pale?
Well, for one, what I find really interesting is we don't even know yet, like, what the Empress's role is here. Like, we hear a lot of people talking about, like, which faction she's trying to push, and I feel like there's no evidence. So I'm very curious if she's even involved in this, or if her attention's just not even focused on this. It feels like Tayshin is really pulling a lot of the strings, and maybe going a bit beyond what her position should allow her to do. Also, it's a dude, isn't it? Tayshin's a dude. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got so far. And like, there's gods just chilling here.
Yeah, well, It definitely seems, well, we hear from Kalam that he hears about people in the Empire who are opposing them. But, they're so far away. They're in this dark room. We really don't know who they are. And then also, especially at the end of the chapter, you see Shadow Throne speaking with Sari, who is under this influence. And that Shadow Throne has this stake in it. And so, and it definitely, especially after Tattersail's conversation with Belladern, it's clear that Tayshran's on his own agenda in a way.
Now, is Shadow Throne the person from 2 years ago or so or whatever who made Sari what she is? And do we necessarily know that she is? Is that confirmed that she is? I thought she was she is definitely a god, right? Well, or something's inside of her.
Yeah, it's mostly confirmed that those two things. So, I mean, it's not like we've heard it from her, but in the next chapter, we hear Kalam and Quickben theorizing about what's happened to Sari. And I think in the last chapter, someone talks about it. Maybe Tattersail, I forgot. And then a little bit in the next chapter, well, maybe I'll save that conversation until then. So maybe it's a good time to talk about chapter 4 and how we start to see the dynamic between Duzek, who's the very highest point in the army, and his relationship to this kind of old guard that once supported the former emperor. Chapter 4. Tattersail convenes with the bridge burners. Hairlock, the wounded wizard turned puppet, has traveled into the Warrens to figure out who opposes the bridge burners. Tattersail is unsure of whether to ally herself with the bridge burners until Whiskey Jack confesses that they are working to undermine Tayshran. Tattersail is still uncertain and listens to Quickben and Kalam. They have their suspicions about Sari and believe High House Shadow is manipulating her somehow, and that the god Shadow Throne has a personal opposition to the Empress. Fiddler has a weird hunch. Perrin's journey to the God of Death stops right on Hood's doorstep. Opan, the twins of Luck, have intervened. They trade another life for Perrin's and send him back to his body, but not before Shadow Throne and the Hounds arrive. Perrin is warned that the High House Shadow is watching him. His body is found by Picker and Ansi. Kalam have them place it in an abandoned estate. Tattersail draws from the deck of dragons and notices the Mason of High House Death. She begins recalling her past when Quickben arrives via Warren to tell her of the puppet Hairlock's return. However, he believes Hairlock is being followed by something. Kalam returns with the healer Mallet. Perrin's recovery seems miraculous, and Quickben suspects Sari of the assassination. They leave Perrin with Tattersail. Fiddler, a veteran sapper, speaks with Whiskey Jack about his past as a mason. Duzek joins them, and they speak of the army's precarious political positioning. They then speak about the bridge burners' new task. They are to go south, infiltrate the last free city on the continent of Genabacchus, and prepare it for a formal attack by the army. With Perrin and Tattersail's care, the bridge burners mount up and depart for Darujistan. That evening, the puppet Hairlock returns from the chaos between Warrens. However, he has a panic as Gear, a Hound of Shadow, chases him. Gear attacks soldiers throughout the city and pierces through Tattersail's magical defenses. The Hound of Shadow's rampage ends when Gnois Parand awakes and stabs it through with his sword. Perrin and Tattersail together hear the sound of a spinning coin. So Josh, we finally see what has happened to Perrin after his assassination in the last chapter. What did you think of his encounters at the Gate of Death?
Well, a lot of questions.
Very few answers.
I told India because we were speaking about this, and she was like, "Oh, was there any parts of the chapter that you didn't like?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't understand a fucking thing that happened the entire time they're at the Gate of Death thing." So I'm gonna try and get my thoughts going. Number one, the gate's made of people. What?
Yeah, it's like made of dead bodies. Like made out of corpses, just moaning. I think that's
a bummer.
I think that's pretty cool. I always imagine that really vividly.
All right, it's evocative, that's for certain. So
I think it's like pretty goth and metal. It's like Whatever.
So Opon is Opon
Upon's two people.
Is Opon two people, a guy and a girl, twins, both named Opon, and are they two people but one people or two people?
No, they're the same. There are two aspects. It's
Two sides of the
it's
same coin.
good luck and bad luck.
Okay, and
That's
but
so weird.
can you ever see both at the same time, or is it one of those things where like one's in front of you and then the other one's behind you?
They just they're gods. They kind of do whatever they want. So
All right, great. So they seemed okay.
they're good luck, bad luck. They're two sides of the same coin.
They also seem a little
They're
they play a little fast and loose because they were like, awesome, we have the perfect candidate. We hear some hounds, and one of them is like, I guess let's just leave. And the other one's like, what? We had this whole plan, and they seemed a little indecisive. So I'm glad they figured it out. What was with the horrific things that were being described? That was a creature that came out, and he like spoke for Hood but wasn't Hood.
Oh, it was like it's like the god of death was busy, so they like sent the errand boy, and it keeps shape shifting into different things, and like
they're
settles
all
on
upsetting.
And then it like settles on a skeleton. I think that's so funny.
Like a deformed child.
Is that guy important? Did he even get his name?
No, it was just like an errand boy for the god of death.
That was a lot of like page time describing him for a thing we're never gonna fucking learn the name of.
It was pretty cool.
He did look badass. Bummer for Perrin's probably family member who will die.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? Mixed bag.
Okay. Yeah, and so they said. So it sounded like, and to clarify for me if I'm wrong, it sounds like there are some rules that gods have to follow.
Sure.
And those rules sound like they are sometimes real clear and sometimes real vague. But one clear one was that if a god if a god's meddling causes someone to die, then another god can meddle to not let them die. That seems like a pretty wild rule.
Yeah, there's definitely some light rules that bind the cosmos, but like most things, sometimes there's exceptions. And
okay, now speaking of rules and exceptions, I have a question.
Sure.
What's an ascendant? Is it a human that becomes a god?
Oh, see, this is a great question. Truly a great question.
I hope you're not about to respond with no one knows still.
No, I'm just doing just give me one quick second to double check.
This is my favorite segment called Peter Googles That.
I was just making sure I was correct. So, you're going to learn, it's tough because you haven't met the other type of god. So,
what?
Because that makes sense.
There are elder gods who
like
are
Cthulhu.
There are elder gods.
What if God was? That's what this is making me think of. I'm sorry.
No, please keep Josh, sing the whole thing.
I don't know the rest of it. Like a slop, like what? That's all I got. So
there are elder gods who are like what we may think of as gods. They live on Mount Olympus or whatever, and they are old people. They are gods. Anyway, then there are Ascendants, which is basically like this. Josh dies today. Bad example. Not Josh. Let me try again.
Oh God, that's dark.
No, I got it. Bad example. I'm trying to think of someone popular. Who's someone popular? Oh.
Fuck off.
Paris Hilton.
Mariah Carey.
No, someone
Lindsay
beloved.
Lohan.
Someone beloved.
John Legend.
No, all right. This whole thing's
Ruth Gator Ginsburg.
She's loved.
So Abraham Lincoln could be an ascendant. They're like, you're an individual. You were once human, but like it's just like people have started worshiping you.
Like a saint.
That's a saint's a great example. Oh my gosh.
Like Saint Patrick. I'm done. I'm done with that voice.
Man, well, not like St. Patrick. India, you really should be explaining stuff. So they're like saints, but there's all of this power stuff. There's a whole curve, and people have different amounts of strength. But basically, it's like you are being transcended into this kind of immortality God state because people love you and worship you, So like you'll have a cult of Abe Lincoln, and then it's like becomes a whole religion, and then Abe Lincoln's the god of whatever, the god of
I have a
beers.
prediction.
So that's basically what Ascendants are. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
I also have a question.
Shoot.
So at one point when Paran, he asks Shadow Man Shadow
Shadow
Sir.
Throne.
Can gods die?
Mm-hmm.
And Shadow Man didn't really answer. He just flinched. I'm wondering, is that something that we will find out?
I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to keep reading, aren't we?
I guess. Is that not an answer I can have? Is it gonna really ruin the books?
So,
I'm
India,
so curious.
India, what did you think about Perrin's other encounters?
His what?
His other encounters at the Gates of Death, or would you like to move on to when he returns to the mortal plane? Let me throw you a different question. We've talked about Perrin enough.
Yeah. Actually, he is the most interesting.
So, India, we find more about Tattersail and the puppet and how the puppet returns from the Warrens and what's up with the puppet news? What's your vibe on the puppet?
My vibe on the puppet is, one, is he a free agent or is somebody controlling him?
He's a free agent, but he's got friends. You know, he's doing his own thing.
Because it seems like is he working on the side? Is he working for the side of anyone? Is he on the side of Tattersail?
Yeah, he's like an ally of Tattersail and the Bridge Burners, but you know, he's like a puppet. He can't do that much. So it's not like he can just go do his own thing.
He's a magic puppet boy. Like he's like a regular old Pinocchio, man. He's got some stuff.
But yeah, but it's not like Pinocchio's not self-sufficient. He's not paying for his phone plan, you know? Like he's still living on his parents' health insurance. So
Geppetto's a good guy, all right?
Well, Geppetto is a good guy.
Yeah, Geppetto is a good guy, guys. How did we get here? How did we get here?
Did that not clear up your Tattersail thoughts?
No, it did, I guess. So he is working on his own, but not.
Well, they talk in the chapter.
Is he crazy?
Well, he's certainly a little unhinged. Being a puppet doesn't help.
Insane. But then they're like, but let's use him. Let's let him out there.
Well, so here's the thing. So they're like, hey, then High Mage Tayshrin is like, you know, he's up to no good. He's working against the Bridge Burners. But, you know, he's very powerful. So they're like, well, we got to operate secretively. So they're gonna use the puppet to kind of leapfrog between Warrens in a kind of dangerous, reckless way that kind of drives the puppet a little insane. So the Bridge Burners are like...
That makes sense.
The Bridge Burners like, we're going to let loose our carrier puppet through the Warrens, and that's how they're going to communicate secretively. However, you know, obviously, you know, it's a complicated system, and it involves this kind of crazy puppet.
Okay, now this is just more of a morality question.
Okay.
So, my girl, Tattersail.
Sure.
She was all broken up about this guy becoming a puppet.
Sure.
Who I actually thought was her that died, but wasn't. Anyway, now she's letting him become insane to use him to find out information? What is this? What is the... I was looking for a love story and I didn't find it here.
Well, there may be fairer waters ahead. However, I don't know. Josh, what do you think about the use of hairlock like this?
Oh, I think it's going to get him real fucked up, and I'm pretty excited to see when he snaps.
Yeah, but they're already talking about it, too.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like even when he was alive, like, he did not seem like the most stable fellow. Like, he's definitely a power-hungry maniac, so...
And at this point, they're trying to understand, like, who Sari is, or what she's doing, or who she's working for, because at this point, they don't know that she's possessed, correct?
Well, they know she's possessed, yeah. Well, I guess you're right. What they know is Kalam and Quickben express their suspicions that she's possessed. I mean, they're probably not certain, but they're definitely like, this girl has a villainous presence to her.
Yeah, because they like are trying to see, but then what confuses me is like, if they know that and they know this already, then why are they even looking for that connection between her and the shadow fellow? Because then isn't it obvious, or is it because there's so many gods they don't know who? Like I don't know.
Well,
I think they have theories, but nothing's set in stone at this point.
Yeah, they have theories. Kalam doesn't know for sure.
Okay.
This girl just showed up in his company years ago as a weird person, and they've just been trying to snoop it out, you know.
Yeah.
Plus, they learned more about the slaughter at Itko Khan from chapter 1.
Because sometimes I can't tell if I'm confused or if they are also confused.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Josh, what's your general confusion level? And then we'll talk about the Bridge Burners.
General confusion level. I can tell you there's exactly one thing, There's one thing that I just don't fucking get.
Sure.
Everything else I feel okay about right now.
Sure.
So.
Well, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I'm
What
really
is it?
dying to know the one thing that you feel comfortable with.
The one thing I don't get is the deck of dragons in the slightest.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so all right. Well, it's multifaceted. I've written a list. Number 1, are they real cards? And there are fortune-telling cards. Number 2, each card's a god or an agent of a god. What's a house? Third, how do cards get added to the deck? Because they talk about, like, the House of Shadow not having been a thing for millennia, but this bitch's deck just has it. So, like, did it just appear? Like, what's up?
I'm surprised by your level of questions from that, because I just accepted it for what it was.
Yeah.
Also, are the houses Warrens?
So they're not Warrens. The houses are kind of like maybe a god and his posse, you know?
Okay.
God and his or her posse. And then usually there's a Warren attached to it, you know?
Okay.
So it's like there's like within the Warren of Shadows there is High House Shadow, you know?
Okay.
So, however,
I feel like I have a headache.
and to answer some of your other questions, yes, they're actual cards. Yes, new cards can get added to the deck.
Is there, like, some company that's just, like, making these? Or do they just appear in the deck?
No, Namco Bandai or whatever isn't producing new Deck of Dragons cards.
Damn.
It's more like, I'm trying to think of a good metaphor, but, you know, they kind of represent, they're fortune-telling magically what divine forces are influencing.
And how does it know that?
Because that's its whole thing. It's reading the deck. You know, you're reading the Deck of Dragons. It's attuned to the divine influences. So it's like you flip it over and you're like, oh, High House Shadow is playing, and so is Opan, and so are these things. So it's like giving you a read on it.
It's psychic.
Sounds a lot like a Ouija board.
Sure, let's call it Ouija-esque.
No, but it's also like a tarot card deck.
Yeah, it's way more like tarot cards. What do you...
Yeah. It's not really like a Ouija board at all.
There's like an earth thing.
On the contrary.
Fuck off.
Thank you, India. All right. Before we go, let's quick talk. The bridge burners are out. They all have a short conversation and they get out of there before the Hound of Shadow attacks Perrin and Tattersail. They all catch a quarrel. And they're headed to Darujistan, India. Now that over these 2 chapters, really, you meet a bunch of bridge burners, and kind of Sorry takes a back seat. What do you think about the whole new squads we meet? Kalam, Quickben, Fiddler, and they're saying goodbye. Are you interested in where they're headed?
I just want to point out, I really love how much time Fiddler spends on roofs. Pretty big fan of that.
Wow, I've literally never thought of that, and this is a great day we're having.
What do I think about the new people?
Well, they're headed off to Darujistan on this mission.
Peter, if I'm being honest, I feel like I'm not going to hear from them again for another 3 chapters. They're going to introduce 35 new characters to me. And I feel like by the time I get back to them in Darujistan, or wherever they're going, I'm not even going to remember where they were. So I have little faith about or concern about where they're going and what they're going to find. And I'm looking forward to meeting Tick-Tock the Clock in the next chapter. I'm sorry. I have a really hard time with chapters 3 and 4 as well.
Well, you sound a little peeved by it, but I hate to tell you, the good news is you nailed it dead on. That's essentially what's going to happen. So...
Is that good news? Is it though?
Well, it's good news that you guessed it.
It's becoming predictable, this book. If this book is one thing, it is predictable and easy to read.
That is the 2 traits it's known for. So, Josh, do you have anything to say about...
Wait, I have one last question, though.
Okay.
So, at the end of the chapter, Hairlock...
Sure.
Is he angry? Are we now enemies with Tattersail and Hairlock? Are they not friends? Are they...
No, Hairlock returns, and earlier Quickben is like, something's following him. And then what was following was a Hound of Shadow from Shadowthrone's posse, and the Hound attacks them. And...
Gear is a shitty name for a dog.
I don't know. What's wrong with Gear?
It's pretty
all right,
hardcore.
Well, fuck me. Whatever.
You are entitled to your opinions here.
Yeah. So then, the Hound attacks them just as, he shows up and is like, hey, I'm here. And then they get attacked, and that's essentially their only conversation.
Oh, all right.
But Hairlock's still Tattersail's friend, but Perrin is in her care.
Yeah. let's save it for another day. Actually no. Let's hash this out now. Perrin, he's back.
He's back and better than ever.
And they were like they carry him in and
New year, new me.
Does his legs work?
His legs work, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great. Sorry.
I mean, he's Mallet, the healer from the Bridge Burners, is like, oh, he's recovering. So I mean, like, he's not in his best health, but he definitely kills the Hound of Shadows. So
okay, all right, yeah.
Are Mallet and Fiddler nicknames, or are they their real human names they've been given?
Are they humans?
This is actually a great question. So they're all human names, but there's this thing in the Malazan army where you join and you take on a different name. So it's like,
oh, what?
It's like Josh joins, and now we're gonna all call him Boggo or whatever, you know. So
you could not have picked a worse name.
So everyone kind of has single names that they go by, you know. So you'll see later, you know, you get, you know, all different types of names.
All right.
I was gonna list them all, but literally it's just, you know, lots of times they're nouns. So
yeah, I mean, my last name is Baker, so I could have just gone with that.
yeah, but they wouldn't use that. That's your actual name. Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
It has to be something that nobody would understand when we use it in the next chapter, so we have no idea who we're talking
yes,
about.
exactly.
You know?
Preferably the most obtuse name possible.
This is our new recruit, Fork.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then sometimes it's like, well, we named him Fork because he loves to eat. And then other times it's like, well, we named him Broth because
his sister likes soup.
Yeah, no reason. But, you know, Fiddler has a fiddle, so...
Ah.
Oh, does he? That's not even come up yet.
Yeah, how do you know that?
Spoilers for the series, I guess.
What the fuck, Peter?
Wow.
That wasn't cool, Peter.
Wow. All right, well, so next week we'll be going to Darujistan, and we're going to read all of Book 2, chapters 4 through 6, and we'll talk about all these new characters Indy is very much looking forward to getting to know. As normal, we're at 10 Very Big Books on both the Gmail and the Twitter. You know, send us a message. Let us know what you think of the show or a question we could talk about. I don't know. And then
follow us
or die. Leave something on iTunes if you do. We can be found out everywhere. You know how it goes. And before we go, Josh, your prediction last week already came true. You predicted you're going to be introduced to many characters with names you'll forget and ranks you don't understand. So it was low-hanging fruit, but I suppose congrats to you.
Nailed it.
Do you want to field a prediction going forward as the Bridge Burners head to Darujistan?
Yes. So spoiler alert. Because we discussed some stuff, and I now know that the next few chapters are with a different cast of characters. My shot in the dark guess is that we're going to be dropped into like the inner workings of politics in Darujistan, and probably follow some person who, at the end of the 3 chapters, will get murdered by the Bridge Burners or some bullshit like that.
Interesting. India, last week you predicted that Sari and Ganois are going to Bao Chicka Wow Wow. We've yet to see if that has come to fruition, but I suppose it's up in the air. Would you like to hazard a guess for heading to the city of Darujistan?
Yes. In Darujistan, I believe we will meet Grey Wall Windowsill. And
fucking called shots from India right now.
No, on a real note, I think we are going to meet a...
You're not just going to pull another name.
No. And, I don't know, probably like another army of people fighting for a different cause, and I don't know. Maybe we'll learn about some new gods.
Maybe. New army, new gods. There you go.
New year, new gods.
New year, new gods. And, well, that is our special St. Patrick's Day episode. Will the luck of the Irish be with you, and goodbye.
Top of the morning to ya.
Top of the morning to ya.
Hey everybody, producer AJ here again with just a few things. First of all, thank you so much for the amazing response to episode 1. It really went better than any of us could have imagined, so thank you for that. We also want to give our thanks again to Dan Geserick for making our wonderful logo. You can check him out on Twitter at Dan Geserick. And of course, all the music for the show comes from Amaranthin's album Simulant Rain, which you can find on bandcamp.com. Links to their pages will be in the show notes, and 10 Very Big Books will be back in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for listening.